If you bought a starter home in Greenville years ago, you're probably facing this challenge in today's market. The big challenge here is what to do with all that equity you've gained in your starter home. If you've owned a home for more than a couple years in the upstate, your home value has probably gone up significantly, which is great for you and your family. But the challenge so many people are having today, I get calls from young professionals here in the upstate about this all the time, is, hey, my home's worth a lot more than what I paid for it, but I also need to buy a new house and rates are higher and so are prices. What do I do here? So today, in a longer format video than my usual content, I want to really break this down at a deeper level and give you some tips and guidance you can use to make the right decision for yourself. Friendly reminder, my team and I are always here and available 7 days a week. So if you've got questions about your personal scenario, just send me a DM or go to our website, birddoggroupgreenville.com. So let's dive in. The first thing here we got to do, guys, is make sure that we take the interest rate factor out of the equation for a second. I meet people all the time who are just proud of their interest rate. Like, good for you. You have a 3% rate on your house. But if your house doesn't meet your needs anymore, you're going to have to bite the bullet sooner or later and make a decision here, all right? Many people have been waiting and waiting and waiting for elections, for interest rates to change, all these different factors to happen for the market to get better to meet their needs. And guess what? It hasn't really gone that way. Home values have increased, not gone down. Interest rates have largely stayed the same. So waiting has actually cost most people a lot of money. If you were waiting, for example, buy a $400,000 house here in the upstate, waiting just 1 year cost you about 15, 16 grand on the home value. It went up that much, about 4% a year, and we're seeing that continue to be the trend. So the longer you wait and to delay the inevitable, the more it's going to hurt. So you better make a plan now instead of waiting for the market to come to you. So the first step is understanding what your housing needs are going to be for the next 5 to 10 years. Friendly reminder, most Americans stay in their home on average only 9 years. So don't think about it as every home's going to be your forever purchase, because statistically, that's not what really shakes out for most people. Now, the second thing here we need to know to make a proper decision is what our home is actually worth, because the number one mistake you can make is assuming your home is worth way more than you thought it was, or that it will sell faster than you think it will. Many people have not adapted to the change in days on market. Homes are taking much longer to sell in today's market, 2024 going into 25, than they did in 19 or 20 when you might have bought that starter home. So you need to keep that in mind here when it comes time to cash out and sell. And that's what I want to focus on first. Option A, I just want to sell my house and buy another one. We'll cover keeping it as a rental next. But for those of you who want to sell, you need to know what your net's going to be. I can help you with that as your real estate advisor. The second thing I would recommend is determine how long you've lived there, because if you've lived there 2 years or more in the last 5 years, you'll qualify for a phenomenal federal tax exemption, allowing you to get those gains out of the property tax-free, and that can save you a ton of money. In fact, I think it's well worth the wait if you have significant equity built up in your property. So talk to your CPA about that. Now that we're ready to go shopping, a step here is we need to get pre-approved as usual, but also have a strategic conversation on what to do with that equity. This is where buying your second home is so different than buying your first, because that first home will often pay you back with appreciation. So now you're also working with much more equity and dollars than you may have had for that first home purchase. And this is where you have to be strategic, because here's what I try to remind folks. You don't by default have to take all your equity and put it from one house into the next, okay? There might be smarter or better options for you depending on your situation. I personally, for example, I'm a big fan of keeping my down payments really, really low on our primary residences, because I want to increase the leverage I have in the property, which increases my returns on any appreciation. The market doesn't care if you put 5% or 20% down. The home is worth what it's worth. So if the home goes up in value $15,000, if you put less down on the property, you're actually earning a better return than if you put more down. So before you just think about saving money in the interest, factor this into the equation and think about where else you could deploy that capital. It's not just real estate, although that's my personal favorite place to put it, but you can also put it in the stock market, crypto, money market accounts, you name it. There's so many other options out there that can give you a better financial return. And the thing I want you to remember, though, is also that if you take $1 out of your bank account, because remember, when you sell your house, all that money, it's going to look great. It's going to be in your bank account for a little bit. If you take that $1 and you put it into another house, it's going to cost you 5 to 10 cents on average to get that dollar back out. HELOCs, refinances, selling your property. None of this is free or even cheap. So you have to remember before you put those dollars in that there is a cost to getting them back out if you decide later to deploy that capital in a different way. Make the decision up front. Now, for some of you, you may want to go all in on real estate investing, okay? And this is where things get really interesting. I'm a big fan of this strategy in particular. Instead of selling your old house, maybe you hold on to it as a rental property. Yes, you can keep that old mortgage in place. Yes, you will keep that low interest rate, which is a big reason why you might want to do this. But here are things you need to consider. First are the terms of the mortgage. Check with your servicer on that. Different loans have different requirements on how long you need to have lived there before you can do what I'm talking about. Okay, so just read the terms of your mortgage. The second thing you want to consider is property management. Is it going to be you or someone else doing the management? It's not for everybody, so this is something you want to talk to a property manager about, understand what the rental rate looks like for your property, and also what the cost and fees of having someone else do this work for you is going to look like. Because again, some people are just not cut out to manage properties themselves, and that's okay. The next thing you want to think about are the tax implications here. Now, at the federal level, you're actually going to unlock some major tax benefits to talk to your CPA about, such as depreciation on the property. But at the local level here in Greenville, you're going to see some increases on your taxes you need to plan for. Mainly what I'm talking about here is your assessment ratio. You're going to go from the 4% to the 6% assessment ratio, and you may also see a reassessment on your property's value. That could increase your tax bill monthly significantly. So before you assume your mortgage payment will stay exactly the same and you set the rental rate based on that, you want to calculate, you can go to the Greenville County website and do this, by the way, what your new tax bill is going to look like. So you know what your all-in, including maintenance, by the way, what your monthly cost will be, so you can determine your rental rate you desire appropriately and discuss that with your property manager. Now, the last piece of the puzzle, just like always, we need to get pre-approved and have another strategic conversation between you, me, your real estate advisor, and our loan officer who's helping us with the loan. Because when it comes to qualifying for the next property, that's where your income and personal finances will make a big difference here. Some of you have more than enough income to support 2 mortgages, no issue. But if you need the income from a rental or even equity out of your home to buy the next property, that's where we have to make some strategic moves here. A refinance could be part of the picture, or a first step before we buy the next property, as an example. Or we might need to secure a tenant with a signed lease agreement so we can use that lease agreement to qualify as income to purchase that next property. These are, again, things we need to discuss with your loan officer and your mortgage company. I hope I gave you all some tips and guidance and just general things to think about in this long format video. Not my usual type of content, but I want to do more stuff like this in the future. If y'all can just do me a quick favor, if you made it this far, drop me a comment and let me know if this was helpful for you, or if you'd rather see more of the short form format videos I typically do. I just want to know what's helpful for y'all in 2025 so you can get great real estate advice and make the right decisions for yourself. If you want more real estate tips here in the upstate, just hit the follow button.